You feel busy, but you don't really own anything. Your schedule is packed, your energy is gone, and still, there's this deeper kind of poverty. Seneca saw this. The Roman philosopher, 2,000 years ago, he saw the same struggle, and his answer was startling. He wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live. It's that we waste so much of it. That's the core of it." That's his radical claim. If you feel you own so little, what do you actually possess? We're going to go into Stoic philosophy here. To reclaim an asset, your most precious one and the most overlooked, you'll find Seneca's definition of true wealth, the illusions that steal your days. And ancient strategies, practical ones, to become the sole owner of your time. What does it mean to truly own a moment of your life? Seneca had this idea about a rich person. It wasn't someone with a full vault, it was someone with a full life, and that really flips the modern idea of wealth. In Stoic thought, the things we chased, money, fame, property, they're called preferred indifference. Which is a key term. It means they're nice to have, it's reasonable to prefer them, but they hold no moral weight. They can't make you good or bad, they're external to your character. And you don't have full control over them. Markets crash, reputations fade, possessions break. To define your wealth by these things is to build your home on sand. But time is different. Time is the one resource that's completely non-renewable. Once a moment passes, it's gone. You can't earn it back, you can't find more. You can only allocate what you have, and this allocation, this intention for building your character, it's the raw material of virtue. That's why Seneca draws a sharp line between being busy and being productive. You can be busy all day managing external things, running errands, chasing promotions, tending to property, and still be philosophically poor. You've traded irreplaceable time for replaceable things. True productivity for a Stoic is measured in wisdom gained, in self-control practiced, in contributions to your community. It's the work you do on your own soul. Think of the classic miser hunched over gold coins. Now picture a different hoarder, someone who guards their morning hour of reflection like a treasure, who sees a conversation with a friend not as a distraction but as an investment of presence, who ends the day not by counting currency but by reviewing moments of patience or courage. That second person, by Seneca's definition, is the truly wealthy one. They're rich in life. So here's a question. If you wrote down your personal definition of wealth right now, what would it include? How many lines are about possessions, status, income? And how many are about the quality of your time, the depth of your relationships, the growth of your understanding? The answer tells you what you're currently valuing and what you might be overlooking. Your home, your car, your bank account. A natural disaster, a change in the law, the market, they can be gone. Your health, your energy, these are borrowed from nature, and it can call that loan due slowly or all at once. Your reputation, that lives in other people's minds. A rumor, a mistake taken the wrong way, and it changes. The Stoics called these things externals. They exist in the realm of fortune, outside of what's up to us. You don't own them, you're borrowing them, and the terms aren't clear. That's the core of it, the dichotomy of control. What's up to us, our judgments, our intentions, the effort we make, how we see something, what we decide to do next, that's our territory. Everything else, the body, belongings, status, that's not. It's a heavy thing to realize. It means we build our security on ground we don't control. We paint ourselves onto a canvas that can be torn, but there is one canvas that can't be taken. Not until the very end. It's the present moment, the now you're in as you hear this. That slice of time in that instant is completely yours. No outside force can take your direct experience of this second. They can fill it with hardship, but they can't reach in and steal your ability to perceive it. to judge it, to choose your response inside that moment. That's the asset that can't be stolen, your attention, your conscious presence moving through time. Think of a practical case. Someone has a financial reversal. An investment fails, a job ends. The money, the property, the status, those externals are gone. What's left? They still have the next day. The same sun comes up. They still have the capacity to think, to breathe, to call someone, to take one small step. The raw material time is the same. The project just changed. Their wealth isn't in currency now. It's in the clarity, the courage they bring to each new hour. So here's a brief exercise, a kind of audit. Pause. List 3 things you think you own: your car, your job title, your fitness. Now for each one, ask, how much real control do I have over this? Could illness take it? Economic forces, the opinions of others. You'll probably see your control is partial, temporary, conditional. This isn't to create fear, it's to create focus. It moves your gaze from the fragile stuff outside to the durable stuff inside. It asks, if all that was stripped away, what would I still have? The answer is your character. And the time you have to use it, that's the estate no one can foreclose on. You can get money back, you can't get time back. That's Seneca's real point. He called time a currency, but with a brutal rule. Money you can recover. A loss here, a gain there. You can work more, get a better job. The financial ledger has 2 columns. Time's ledger has just one. It's all expense. Every minute is deducted as it passes. There's no income column, no refunds on a spent hour. He uses this metaphor. Life is a vessel with a small, constant leak. We're holding it and we don't notice the drip. We're looking at the decoration, our status, our plans, while what's inside just drains away. The Stoic goal isn't to stop the leak. That's impossible. It's to become aware of it, to hold the vessel knowing it's irreplaceable, and to choose what to put in it while you still can. Which leads to his sharpest observation. People guard their property fiercely. A stranger touches their things, they call for help. But let someone take their time with empty demands, with hollow talk, and they give it away. They're frugal with what can be replaced and generous with what cannot. It's a contradiction. You can see it in any day. Take an hour. You could spend it with full attention on a difficult book. Or in a deep conversation. That hour is gone either way. You paid the same price, but the return is different. One trade gets you growth or connection. The other trade, say, scrolling a feed gets you distraction, some forgotten images. The cost was identical, the yield wasn't, so it forces a question. What was the exchange rate for your time yesterday? Not in dollars, but in life. When you spent an hour, what did you actually buy? A bit of skill, a moment of peace. Or just a way to make the clock move. Owning your time starts there, auditing those transactions, seeing the day not as a block to fill, but as a finite currency. Spending it like someone who knows the bank will never offer a loan. Seneca had this warning. The biggest thing that gets in the way of living is expecting to live later. It gets buried under this fog of busyness. He saw it in Rome in the 1st century. The elite were caught up in what they called negotium, and that wasn't just work. It was a state of being occupied, the opposite of otium, which wasn't laziness. It was philosophical leisure, time for reflection, for study, for being present. And negotium was the frantic avoidance of that quiet. It was the endless social rounds, the political games, managing estates, all of it creating this loud, impressive-sounding life that was empty of purpose. He writes to a friend, this friend is always complaining life is short, and Seneca says, look at your own record. You'll find a large part was taken by a powerful person. Another part by a social climber, another by a lawsuit, another by your household duties. You have lost your life to everyone else. You have kept none for yourself. That's the core of it. The thief isn't idleness. It's the respectable, urgent-seeming busyness, the kind that leaves you with nothing to call your own. Now take that to today. It's the hustle culture where exhaustion gets equated with virtue. It's the endless to-do list where checking off trivial tasks feels like progress, while your meaningful goals just gather dust. It's saying you're too busy for a quiet walk, for reading, for a real conversation, because you're buried in emails that'll be forgotten in a week. This is the modern negotium, a self-imposed fog. It lets us feel productive while we avoid the harder work, the work of deciding what our life is actually for. So here's a challenge from Seneca's school. Tonight, take 5 minutes. Look back on your day, not at what you accomplished, but at what you were occupied with. Find one block of time, maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes, that felt full, that felt busy, but in hindsight did not move you toward anything you deeply value. Did not make you wiser, did not connect you meaningfully to someone else, did not bring you peace. It just kept the wheels spinning. That's the thief. Right there in plain sight, and naming it is the first step to reclaiming what it stole. You're sacrificing your current time for a future that might never come. That's the trap Seneca called postponing life. We tell ourselves life starts later. I'll be happy after the promotion. I'll find peace when the kids are grown. I'll write that book in retirement. Each time we're making a trade, handing over our present hours, our present attention, as payment on a promise, and that promise is written on a contract we can never sign. Because the future isn't ours to guarantee, Stoicism pulls the focus back to the present moment. It's the only point of action you ever have. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Right now is the only real territory you occupy. Seneca saw people treating time like it was infinite, like air, saving their best selves, their kindest words, their most meaningful work for a later date. As if life were a play with an endless run, and they could always perform tomorrow. But he reminds us the final curtain could drop at any moment without notice. To delay living is to risk never having lived at all. Marcus Aurelius drilled this into his own mind. He wrote, "Concentrate every hour on the task at hand. Do it as if it could be your last, not with drama or fear, but with a fierce, gentle focus." He wasn't saying live in a state of panic. He was saying, don't dilute this hour by mentally already being in the next one. When you're reading to a child, be reading to a child, not thinking about the report due tomorrow. That future report will have its own present moment when it arrives. Right now, the currency you're spending is this moment of connection. Spend it fully. Look at the deferrals we accept as normal. We wait for retirement to travel while our bodies are still able. We save relaxation for the weekend, treating 5 days out of 7 as a necessary burden. We put off starting a passion project until after some milestone. And once reached, it just reveals the next milestone. We're always preparing to live but never quite arriving. So here's a shift from that ancient wisdom. Identify one thing you're consistently postponing. It might be learning a language, repairing a relationship, or just taking a long walk in the woods. Now commit to a single, actionable step within the next 24 hours. Not the whole project, not the grand plan, just one step. Send the email to inquire about classes. Make the phone call to say hello. Put on your shoes and walk for 10 minutes. That's how you stop paying your present time into a future bank. You reclaim a fragment of your life right now by acting within the only time you truly own. Seneca told us to keep death close, not to scare us but to focus us. That's Memento Mori. Remember you must die. In our culture, that sounds grim. We treat death as something distant, something we politely ignore, but for the Stoics, this awareness wasn't morbid. It was a tool for clarity. It turns time from a vague stream into something finite. You can hold it, you can see to the bottom. Think of a common experience, a serious health scare, or someone close to you passes away. Right after, your priorities snap into focus. Petty grievances just evaporate, trivial worries seem absurd. You see with stark clarity what actually matters, the people you love, the projects that give you meaning. The simple beauty of an ordinary day, that shock to the system is Memento Mori in its raw form. The Stoic practice is to invite that clarity voluntarily. Daily, without the crisis, to use the thought of life's end not as dread but as a lens for seeing its value right now. Seneca wrote about this constantly. He urged his friend Lucilius to live each day as if it completed your life, as if it rounded out your existence. He wasn't suggesting a frantic bucket list frenzy. He meant living with such integrity and presence that if you were to pass in the night, you could look back on that final day and say it was a life well lived in miniature. That today contained your character. This practice creates a gentle urgency, not for more frantic activity, but for more virtue, for more meaningful connection. It asks the foundational question every morning: is this how I want to spend my one precious life? The ancient philosophers kept physical reminders, a replica of a skull on the writing desk, a specific ring, a stone in their pocket. These weren't symbols of despair, they were tools for attention. A modern equivalent might be a simple object on your nightstand. A smooth stone, a particular coin, a piece of art, something you see each day that prompts a 1-second mental check. It asks, am I living on purpose right now, or am I just passing time? That tiny pause can reroute an entire hour. So here's a reflective prompt drawn from this practice. It's not meant to be answered aloud but held quietly. If you learned with certainty that you had 1 year left to live in full health, what would you stop doing immediately? Not out of panic but from clear-eyed honesty. And what would you start? The answers that arise aren't a to-do list for a hypothetical final year. They are a mirror held up to your current values. They show you the gaps between how you are spending your days and how you wish to spend your life. And that space, that gap, is where true ownership of your time begins. The Roman mob wanted bread and circuses. We want likes and streams. It's the same thing, really, a diversion from the self. Seneca saw citizens pour into the arena. They traded their hours for chariots and gladiators. He called it a voluntary servitude. They gave away their attention, their most precious thing, just to watch others live or struggle or perform. That roar from the crowd was a siren song. It pulled them away from the quiet work of looking at their own lives. Now the arena's in our pocket. The notification is the trumpet blast. The endless scroll is the procession. The mechanism is identical. It gives you a fleeting sense of engagement, but it quietly takes your focus, and with it, your time. This theft works through assent. In Stoic thought, an impression hits your mind, a feeling, an image. The critical moment is your assent, your agreement to engage with it. To follow it, distraction wins by making that assent automatic. Your phone buzzes and your hand moves without a thought. A headline flashes and your mind is already crafting a reply. You didn't choose to engage, you were captured. Epictetus said it bluntly. The philosopher's first task is to never be pulled along by the crowd. Don't let the impressions of others set your course. When the crowd runs to the circus, you check your step. You ask, is this for my good, or am I just being swept along? Look at the pull to refresh. Your thumb swipes down. There's a tiny hope for a second, something new, something validating. It delivers often a scrap, a minor update, a forgotten joke. You consume it in seconds and the hunger is still there. So you swipe again. This cycle breaks an hour into dozens of unsatisfying scraps. You've spent the currency, but you bought nothing of substance. You attended a digital circus and left feeling emptier. Your attention, the tool you use to own your time, gets fractured and scattered. So here's a practical thing, a modern audit. For one ordinary day, don't change your behavior. Just observe it. Use your phone's screen time report or just keep a mental tally. At the end of the day, categorize that time, not by app but by effect. How much of that screen time was nourishing, a meaningful talk, learning a skill, reading a thoughtful piece, and how much was numbing, the endless scroll, the autoplay videos, the compulsive checking? That ratio is a direct measure. It shows how much of your day was lived versus how much was just spent in a distracted haze. That number tells a story. It shows you where the modern circus is winning and where you might start to reclaim your seat. Seneca's idea of leisure wasn't doing nothing. It was doing the most important thing. Building your character, that's the old idea of Otium, cultivated leisure. It's the opposite of what we call free time now. Free time now is often just empty space. We fill it with passive consumption. We watch a show, we scroll, we let the world entertain us. That's time spent but not owned. You're a tenant in your own life. Otium is different. It's active. It's the sovereign use of your time, using it to deepen your understanding, to strengthen your spirit. That's where ownership becomes tangible. You're not killing time, you're investing it in the only project that never loses value, yourself. Seneca would retreat from the political noise of Rome. For periods of study and writing, he called these retreats necessary, not an escape from duty, a deeper engagement with it. He wrote letters on philosophy then. He reflected, he read the works of those who came before him. He wasn't on vacation, he was at work, the highest work, tending to his inner citadel, so he could return to the world with greater clarity. With resilience, that's the model, leisure as a workshop for the soul. So what does that look like now in a modern week? It starts with a shift in language. Don't say you have an hour to kill, say you have an hour to cultivate. That one word changes everything. It turns an empty slot into a garden plot. Now, what do you plant there? Reading a challenging book, not for information but for transformation. Sitting with a journal, untangling a thought, or recording a moment of gratitude. Taking a walk with no podcast, no music, just the rhythm of your steps. The practice of observing the world without immediate judgment. Having a conversation where you listen more than you speak. Aiming to understand, not to reply. These aren't chores. They're acts of luxurious self-possession, the ultimate exercise of ownership. When you dedicate an hour to reflection, you're declaring that your inner world matters more than the outer noise. You're prioritizing the permanent over the temporary. You're building a reserve of calm and insight that no market crash can deplete. That hour, invested in Otium, yields compound interest in every other hour of your life. It makes you less reactive, more deliberate. It turns time from a tyrant into an ally. So here's a practical prompt from this ancient practice. This week, schedule one single hour. Block it in your calendar like any important meeting. Label it simply cultivation. Before that hour arrives, decide with intention what it will contain. Will it be 30 minutes of reading Marcus Aurelius, followed by 30 minutes of writing in a notebook? Will it be a silent walk in a park, observing nature with the goal of seeing 3 things you've never noticed before? The specific activity is yours to choose. The key is the intention. This hour is not a leftover. It is the main event. It's you exercising your most fundamental ownership over the one resource you truly possess. How will you cultivate your inner garden when that hour arrives? Seneca talked about doing a nightly review, not about what you ate or how many steps you took, but about your character, about how you used your time. He considered this the real work of owning your life. A good steward doesn't just spend the household money. They keep the books, they know where every dollar went, and they think about how to use it better tomorrow. Your time is your estate. This review is how you manage it. Without it, the days just blend. You get this vague sense of loss, but there's no record, no way to actually get better. The audit cuts through that fog. It gives you a ledger. In his letters, he describes his own routine. He wrote, "After the light is out and my wife is quiet, I go over my whole day. I look back at what I did. What I said, I don't hide anything from myself. I don't skip anything. That's the confrontation, not with a boss or a critic, with the one person you can't fool forever. Yourself. He wasn't hunting for sins to beat himself up over. He was collecting evidence to see if what he did lined up with what he believed, to see if he was the owner of his hours. Or just renting them. The power is in the details. It takes you from saying, I wasted today, to seeing, I spent 45 minutes in a pointless online argument. It left me irritated, and then I spent 20 minutes fully with my kid. That left us both feeling connected. One of those is a debit, the other is an investment. This isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. It shows you the real exchange rates you're getting for your life. There's a simple framework from that old practice. Just 3 questions at the end of the day. First, where was one moment I used my time with clear intention, where I felt present or moved toward something I value? Name it. Second, where did I lose my focus? Where did I give my attention to something trivial or get pulled into someone else's urgency? Be honest, but don't be cruel. Third, and this is the key one, based on that, what's one small adjustment for tomorrow? Not a big resolution, a tactical shift. Maybe I won't check my phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Or I'll use my whole lunch break for reading, not for scrolling. The goal is to close the ledger each night, to see the transactions, learn from them, and then let them go. This daily habit strengthens your sovereignty. It makes you the author of your days, not just a character in them. So tonight, try it. In the quiet before sleep, do this short review. You don't have to write it down, though that can help. Just look at the currency of your day. Where did you spend it well? Where did it slip away? That simple act of attention. It's the first step, the most important step in taking real ownership. Worrying about the future is a kind of bankruptcy. You go broke in the only moment you actually have. You trade the solid ground of now for something that isn't even real yet. Seneca saw this as a kind of poverty. The person obsessed with what might happen is a pauper in the present. They've mortgaged their attention, their peace, to a landlord called maybe, and this connects to the Stoic idea about desire. When we cling to a specific future outcome, a promotion, a perfect relationship, we hand our stability over to things we can't control. Our happiness starts depending on a world that doesn't answer to us. And more than that, we leave our only point of agency. We don't own the future result, we own the present action, the effort, the next right step. Obsessing over the outcome steals the energy you need to take that step. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He told himself not to be troubled by future events that may not even happen. He called it absurd to suffer in advance. To let a shadow darken the current hour. He wasn't saying don't prepare. He was attacking the habit of borrowing trouble, paying interest on a loan of fear that may never come due. Think about the common anxieties, the career worry where you're rehearsing a conversation with a boss you might never have, the relationship anxiety spinning stories of rejection that only exist in thought, the health concern that pulls you into a spiral of searches, each one stealing a piece of today's well-being for a fear about tomorrow. In each case, you're spending the currency of your present peace. And what are you buying? Just the anxiety itself. You haven't changed the future, you've only impoverished the now. The Stoic alternative isn't to stop caring. It's to care differently, to shift your investment from the uncontrollable result to the controllable process. Instead of fretting over whether you'll get the job, invest your present hour in polishing your skills. Instead of worrying if a friendship will last, invest your present moment in being fully present in your next interaction. You move your effort from the distant horizon to the ground beneath your feet. You reclaim ownership by acting where you actually have authority. So here's a question. What future worry is renting space in your mind for free? Name it. A financial what if, a professional uncertainty. Now ask the second question. What is one present action, however small, that could address it? Not solve it, but address it. Making a budget, sending an email, scheduling a checkup, having a conversation. That shift from passive worry to an active step is the moment you evict the anxious tenant. You stop paying rent on a phantom future and start maintaining the home you own, which is today. Pour everything you have into this moment, like the universe asked you to do this one thing. That's what it means to be present. It's the direct answer to that anxiety about the future. You can't worry about a promotion when your whole mind is on the spreadsheet you're building. You can't fret about a relationship when you're fully listening to your friend's story. Full attention creates a kind of sovereignty. It says this current activity is worthy of your entire life. Because it is your life right now. The Stoics had a word for this, kathekon, often translated as duty or appropriate action, but it's less about a burdensome chore. More about the fitting response to the present moment. Your duty in any given second is to play your current role, parent, listener, worker, with excellence. Not for a reward later, but because it's the right use of this fragment of time you own. Epictetus put it plainly. In every affair, he said, consider what precedes and what follows, and then undertake it. He wasn't advising over-analysis. He was saying, see the task clearly for what it is. Your job is not to control the outcome. Your job is to do the thing in front of you with care and dignity. That act of focused care is where you exercise ownership. You're investing your irreplaceable attention into the world right here. Take washing dishes. You can stand at the sink, body present but mind 1,000 miles away, ruminating on a past slight, planning a future meeting. The dishes get clean, but you were absent. The time was spent but not owned. Now try it the other way. Feel the warmth of the water. Notice the swirl of the soap. See the plate transform from dirty to clean. There's a quiet service in it. You're maintaining your home, caring for those who will eat from these dishes. That shift from autopilot to engagement turns a chore into a practice. It becomes a minute of your life you actually inhabited. You weren't renting out your consciousness to worries. You were home. This applies to everything. A work meeting, you can be there physically while mentally drafting an email, or you can listen so intently to your colleague that you truly understand their point, maybe even before they finish making it. A commute, you can numb out with noise, or you can watch the world pass by your window. Notice the light on the buildings, the expressions on faces, the simple fact of being in motion. The external activity is identical. The internal experience, the quality of the time, is utterly different. One is a leak in your vessel, the other is a deliberate pour. So here's a challenge drawn from this ancient focus. Pick one routine activity, something you do every day almost without thought, making your morning coffee. Folding laundry, walking to your car. Today, perform that one activity with your complete and undivided attention. Let it fill your awareness. If your mind wanders to a worry, gently return it to the sensations of the task. The smell of the coffee grounds, the texture of the fabric, the sound of your footsteps. For those 2 or 3 minutes, own that time so completely that nothing else exists. That is the practice of the present engaged. It's how you stop paying your life away in installments of distraction and start living it in full, sovereign moments. Seneca looked at obstacles and didn't see them stealing time. He saw them teaching its value. He'd watch people in comfortable lives. Their days would go to trivial things. Then something would happen, an illness, a financial hit, losing someone, and in that hardship their vision cleared. They could see what mattered. He noticed it's often the pressure, the constraint, that shows you how to own your hours. When the path is wide, you wander. When it narrows, you have to choose your steps. That's the paradox. A deadline finishes a project that years of open planning couldn't. A limited budget makes you more conscious than a limitless one. A period of recovery where you can't move much becomes a time for reading, for reflection. For real conversation, the constraint didn't take time. It gave the time you had a sharp purpose. It stripped away the optional and showed the essential. In his Letters of Consolation, Seneca writes to people facing loss. He doesn't dismiss the pain. He frames it as a revelation. Fate doesn't take our time, he suggests. It shows us how little we had to lose. It exposes the hours we were already wasting on things that didn't matter. The hardship, in its harsh light, makes the preciousness of what's left impossible to ignore. You stop postponing the important talk. You start the project you always dreamed of. You sit with a sunset and actually see it, not because you have more time, because you finally recognize the staggering value of the time you always had. Think of a snowstorm. It cancels all your plans. The world goes quiet. The usual demands are silenced. What do? Often, people reach for a book they meant to read. They call a family member just to talk. They write that letter. The external pressure of the storm created an internal space of ownership. It forced you back into the driver's seat of your own attention. So look back on a past difficulty, a personal challenge, a period of illness, a setback. Instead of focusing only on the hardship, ask this: what one positive shift in how I used my time came out of that period? Did I become more present with family? Did I discover a resilience I didn't know I had? Did I let go of an obligation that was draining me? That shift is the gift inside the constraint. It's the lesson in ownership that comfort could never teach. Recognizing it lets you carry that clarity forward, long after the storm has passed. How many hours of your life are you giving to the court of public opinion? It's a subtle form of slavery, an expensive one. You hand over the minutes of your day, your mental energy, to shape an image for others to judge. You spend time not on what you believe, but on how you might be perceived. That's the opposite of ownership. It's a lease agreement, and the terms are set by the crowd. The rent you pay is your attention, your irreplaceable attention. The Stoics called this the pursuit of externals. In its purest form, your reputation lives in the minds of others. It's the definition of something outside your control. Epictetus was blunt on this. He said, if anyone tells you that a person speaks ill of you, don't make excuses. Answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he wouldn't have mentioned these alone. That's a staggering reframe. It treats criticism not as a threat but as incomplete data. It disarms the power of another's opinion. It places the final judgment of your character back where it belongs, with you. To spend your time managing what others think is to outsource the valuation of your own life. You're letting the crowd set the price for your time, and they will always undervalue it. This connects to the Stoic idea of autarkeia, self-sufficiency. It doesn't mean being a hermit. It means your sense of worth, your compass, comes from an internal citadel. From your principles. Time spent crafting an image for social validation is time not spent reinforcing the walls of that citadel. It's time not spent on the private work, the sustained work that actually builds a life of substance. Compare the endless curation of a social media profile, the perfect photo, the witty caption, the anxious wait for likes. Compare that with the quiet, unseen hour of journaling. One is a performance for an audience that may or may not be watching. The other is a direct investment in your own clarity. In your growth, one seeks ownership from the outside, the other exercises it from within. Think of the mental cycles spent after a meeting, replaying what you said, worrying how it landed. Or the energy devoted to dressing for a certain impression, or staying silent to avoid controversy. Each of these is a transaction. You're trading a piece of your present focus, a slice of your sovereign time, for the fleeting currency of others' approval. So here's a reflective prompt, a practical audit. Consider one area where you catch yourself seeking external validation. It might be in your work, your appearance, your social circle. Now estimate, roughly, how much time each week do you spend on that pursuit of approval, directly or in mental rehearsal? Is it an hour crafting emails to sound impressive? 2 hours scrolling to see who engaged with your post? 30 minutes each morning choosing an outfit based on who you might see? Just tally the minutes. The mental and physical minutes, that number represents a weekly donation you are making. You are giving that time away to the opinion of others. Seeing the total makes the cost visible. And seeing the cost is the first step toward deciding if the exchange is worth the price of your life. If time is your land, what are you growing on it? Without that, you're just tending empty fields. You can occupy the hours, but you don't possess them. Possession needs a point, a reason. For the Stoics, that reason wasn't some future triumph. It wasn't fame or wealth. It was a close, daily target to live with wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Those 4 virtues were the guide. They sketched what a good life was right then. So your purpose becomes building your character through those traits. That's what you use your time for, and that shifts purpose from a hazy idea to a working tool. Any choice about your time comes down to a basic question. Does this grow wisdom or not? Does it ask for courage or does it feed fear? Is it fair to others or is it just for me? Does it practice moderation or does it lean toward excess? A clear purpose tied to virtue cuts through the clutter of being busy. It shows you what to accept and what to refuse. Marcus Aurelius started his private writings, the Meditations, not with big declarations. He began with a list of what he owed. He wrote the specific virtues he took from people in his life. From my grandfather, he wrote, I learned good character and self-control. From my mother, piety and generosity. He was outlining his purpose by naming the qualities he respected and meant to live by. His purpose was to honor those teachings, to be a student worthy of the virtues shown to him. That list was his measure. When he faced a difficult senator, some boring duty, or a personal weakness, he could go back to that purpose. How would a person of good character and self-control act now? The answer shaped how he used that hour. To make it plain, say your Stoic purpose is just to be a better listener. That's a virtue of justice, giving someone their proper attention, and of temperance, holding back your own urge to talk. Then see how that purpose changes ordinary time. A lunch with a coworker, instead of planning what you'll say, you actually hear them. You ask a real question. Those 20 minutes aren't just a break. They're an active tending of your purpose. An evening at home. Instead of half watching a screen while you scroll, you put the device down. You listen to the small stories of their day. That hour becomes a deposit into your stated aim. The time is identical, the ownership shifts. You're spending your currency on the very thing you said mattered. So here's a step, a practical move toward that kind of freedom. Stop, write one sentence, a Stoic purpose statement for your life as it is. Focus only on character, not results. Don't write to get a promotion. Write to do my work with diligence and integrity. Don't write to find a partner. Write to offer kindness and patience in my relationships. Keep it simple. Make it about who you choose to be in your next encounter. This sentence isn't permanent. It's a marker. Put it where you'll see it. Let it be the question you ask when you feel your time fading into busy fog or distraction. What am I growing here? The answer shows you immediately whether you own this moment or you're just passing through it. Seneca practiced poverty. He did it to prove something to himself, that his time, his happiness weren't held hostage by what he owned. He called it voluntary hardship. It was training. A few days each month, he'd live on the bare minimum. Simple food, a hard bed, plain clothes. It wasn't punishment. It was a stress test for his own freedom. He needed to know with absolute certainty that his inner peace wasn't a product of his comforts, that his time was his own, no matter the circumstance. And that practice cuts to the heart of ownership. If your well-being depends on a soft mattress, a full pantry, constant entertainment, then you're not the master of your life. You're a manager of conditions, and managing those conditions steals your focus. It consumes your hours with maintenance, with worry, with the endless pursuit of more. Voluntary hardship flips that. By stepping into simplicity, you demonstrate to yourself that you are more than your comforts. You strengthen something inside. You prove your time and attention can be directed by choice, not by craving. In his letters, he describes these periods with a kind of triumph. He writes that he wants to be able to do without his comforts, so that if he ever must do without them, it won't be a new experience. He was building a psychological immunity. By choosing lack, he removed the fear of it, and in removing that fear, he reclaimed all the mental energy, all the time normally spent avoiding discomfort. Think of the hours people devote to acquiring the perfect thing, to maintaining a lifestyle, to anxiously protecting what they have. That's time spent in service to externals. Time not owned but leased. The modern equivalent isn't necessarily sleeping on a stone floor, unless that calls to you. It's about identifying the comforts that have quietly become demands. The constant connectivity that fragments your focus, the curated consumption that fills every quiet space, the expectation of constant convenience that makes a minor delay feel like a personal offense. Each of these comforts, if it becomes a need, owns a piece of your attention. It dictates how you spend your time, so consider a modern voluntary fast. A digital one. For 24 hours you step away from non-essential screens. No social media, no streaming, no endless browsing. The discomfort is real at first. A sense of boredom, a pull to check in, but what emerges in that space is time, vast, quiet stretches of it, and a mental clarity that had been scattered across a dozen apps. You might read a book cover to cover, you might have a long, meandering conversation, you might simply sit and think. The time you reclaim wasn't created. It was always there. It was just being consumed by a comfort you'd stopped questioning. Or take something as simple as food. For a day, eat plainly, simple, whole foods without elaborate preparation. Notice how much mental space is freed, from planning, from deciding, from the cycle of craving and satisfaction. That space is yours again. That attention is currency returned to your account. The point is never the hardship itself. It's the revelation that follows. It shows you how much of your life is organized around avoiding minor discomforts. And in that seeing, you find a leverage. You realize you can choose where your energy goes. You are not a slave to the thermostat, the notification, the next meal. You are the owner of your response. So here's a small experiment. In ownership, choose one small comfort to voluntarily go without for a single day. It could be hot water for your shower. It could be background noise while you work. It could be that second cup of coffee. The choice is yours, but make it specific. Then, with gentle curiosity, observe. What do you do with the time and mental energy no longer devoted to that comfort? Do you fill it with something else, or do you let the space simply exist? That observation, more than any philosophy text, will show you where your sovereignty truly lies. The idea that saving time might just be a way of missing life while we plan. We're chasing efficiency, faster apps, quicker meals. The promise is more time, but more time for what? Seneca would call that a subtle illusion. You can't save time. You can't put it in an account for later. A moment not spent is gone. The goal isn't to hoard minutes, but to invest them now in things that last. That draws a line between efficiency and wisdom. Efficiency is doing a task well with minimal waste. Wisdom is choosing the right task. Saving 10 minutes on a chore is neutral. Its value depends on what you do with those 10 minutes. If you reinvest them in something that nourishes your character, that's wise. If you use them to rush into another trivial thing or to numb out, you haven't saved anything. You've just moved your poverty from one pocket to another. Seneca returns to his core idea. Life is long enough, he says, if we know how to use it. The lack isn't in the quantity of time, but in our allocation. We treat time as renewable, so we try to save it for a future we assume is guaranteed. But the future isn't a vault. It's a series of present moments, each one arriving only as the previous one is spent. You can't deposit today into tomorrow. Look at a common pattern. You eat lunch quickly at your desk, shaving 15 minutes off the break. You tell yourself you've saved that time. But what happens next? Often, that quarter hour vanishes into checking social media or trivial news or just staring at a screen. The time wasn't saved. It was converted from one form of spending to another, often of lower value. The meal, which could have been a pause, was sacrificed, and the prize was a scattered digital interlude. That's not ownership, it's a bad trade. So here's a reflective prompt. Identify one time-saving tool or habit you use, a meal service, a productivity app, a commute shortcut. Now ask yourself, what do I typically do with the time it supposedly frees up? Track it mentally for a day. Does that liberated time go towards something that aligns with your deeper purpose? Or does it get absorbed into the general noise, into more busyness? The answer isn't to abandon efficiency. It's to become the conscious steward of its fruits. When you streamline a trivial task, see the minutes you gain not as a windfall to be spent carelessly, but as capital. Capital you must immediately invest in something of true worth. In 5 minutes of deep breathing, in reading a page of philosophy, in sending a thoughtful message to a friend, that's the shift from saving time, which is impossible, to investing attention, which is the essence of ownership. Your life isn't measured by the minutes you accumulate, but by the quality of presence you bring to each one as it passes. Seneca saw friends not as distractions, but as the right place to put large parts of your time. That's a radical shift. We often treat relationships differently. In a culture that values busyness, a long lunch with a friend can feel like a luxury. Or even a detour from being productive. The Stoic view turns that around completely. True friendship isn't a break from the philosophical life. It's one of its main workshops. It's where you practice the virtues in real time. Justice, listening fairly, offering honest counsel. Courage, speaking difficult truths with kindness. Temperance, sharing joy without envy. And wisdom, navigating the complexities of another person's soul. Investing your hours there isn't a diversion. It's a high-yield investment. In your own character and in a shared reservoir of meaning, think about Seneca's own work. His most lasting writings are the moral letters to Lucilius. That was a friendship conducted across a distance. Every letter was a deliberate investment of time and thought. He wasn't just giving advice, he was engaging in a collaborative project of living well. He wrote that one of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. That mutual understanding is a form of wealth. It grows only through the currency of shared attention. It requires you to be present, to listen beyond words, to offer your time without an agenda. In those moments, you aren't just spending time. You're co-creating it. You and your friend become joint owners of a memory, an insight, a moment of clarity, something neither could have had alone. Now contrast that with the modern landscape of connection. You can have dozens, even hundreds of social interactions in a week. Likes, comments, brief messages. They create a noise that can feel like companionship. But often it leaves you feeling more isolated inside. Then picture a single, lengthy phone call with a close friend, one where you talk about something that actually matters. A fear, a hope, a philosophical question. That hour is a deep, concentrated deposit. It forges a bond that superficial chatter can't touch. The time cost is the same as scrolling through a week's worth of feeds. But the yield in shared humanity and strengthened virtue is exponentially greater. So here's a prompt from that ancient priority. Think of one friend. Someone whose conversation has left you feeling clearer in the past, or more grounded, or simply more human. Someone you haven't connected with on that deeper level lately. Not because of a rift, but because life's noise got in the way. Now make a specific intention, not a vague "I should call them." Schedule a quality conversation. Send a message today. Say you were thinking about that talk you had on that long drive last year, and you'd love to catch up properly. Ask if you can find an hour for a walk or a call this week. That act of scheduling is a concrete exercise of ownership. You are deliberately allocating a portion of your most precious resource, your time, into the fertile ground of virtuous friendship. You are declaring that this relationship is part of the wealth you are building, a wealth no market can measure and no circumstance can easily take away. Seneca got up early not to get ahead on emails, to take hold of his own mind before the world could, that first quiet hour while the city was still asleep. He called it the most valuable part of the day because it was uncontested, no letters yet, no social demands. That space was his alone, and how he used it decided who he'd be for all the hours after. This is the Stoic morning meditation, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of the day's troubles. It sounds severe, but the purpose is freedom. You don't do it to dread the day. You do it to disarm it, to walk into life not as a visitor but as a prepared citizen. You own the day by seeing its nature, not by fearing its events. Marcus Aurelius wrote his own version. He'd rise and remind himself. Today, he wrote, I will meet busybodies, the ungrateful, the arrogant. He didn't list them to get annoyed. He did it to set his intention, to decide in advance, to meet them with patience because they don't know better, with justice because his role required it. This rehearsal was an act of ownership, programming his responses before the world could program them, claiming his inner citadel at dawn so it would hold at noon. Your first thoughts are the architects of your day. If you start by absorbing news alerts, work messages, the highlights of other people's lives, you're leasing out your mental space. Letting the world's agenda set up shop before you've even consulted your own. The tone is set, you become reactive. Your time from then on is spent answering external claims. Now a different start, the alarm 30 minutes early. You don't reach for a screen, you sit with a notebook. You might write one sentence of gratitude. Not a platitude, a deliberate recognition of a gift. You might read a passage from Epictetus, not to finish a chapter, to engage with one idea. How does this apply to a difficulty I face today? You might just sit in silence, watching your breath, practicing the return of a wandering mind to the present. This isn't a productivity hack, it's a sovereignty ritual. Depositing your attention into your own account before any withdrawals are made. So the challenge, a direct reclamation. For 1 week, wake up 30 minutes earlier. Guard that half hour like a private audience with a wise advisor. Dedicate it only to a Stoic practice. Journal your intentions for the day. Meditate on a single virtue you wish to embody. Read philosophy with a pen in hand. The specific activity matters less than the intention. This time isn't for planning tasks, it's for aligning your soul. For those 30 minutes, you are the undisputed owner of your attention. You'll feel the difference by mid-morning. The world's noise will still come. But it will meet a mind that has already declared its independence. A mind that remembers first what it truly owns. Every yes to someone else's plan is a no to a piece of your own time. Seneca got good at saying no. He didn't see it as rude. He saw it as a kind of justice you owe your own life. Time is a zero-sum thing. There's no secret vault with extra hours. An hour you give to one thing is an hour taken from everything else. So every agreement is a trade. You're trading a piece of your finite life for an experience. And the question is it a fair trade? Does this give you something back in wisdom or in character or in real connection? Or is it just a polite way to give up your own authority? That takes a real kind of discernment. It's rooted in the Stoic idea of justice. We usually think of justice as being fair to others, but the Stoics said it's also being fair to yourself. To give your time recklessly to people and projects that don't fit your purpose, that's an injustice to your own potential. It's a misallocation, your most precious resource. Cato the Younger was famous for this. His refusals weren't personal. They were architectural. He built his life on principle. Any request that didn't fit the blueprint got a simple, unwavering no. That clarity protected his time. It let him focus on what he saw as his duty to Rome. His power to say no was his power to own his days. Think about your own calendar. It's a ledger of trades. A lunch with a draining person trades 90 minutes of your life for a social obligation. You might just feel tired after. That same 90 minutes could be a walk outside, or deep work on a skill, or a slow meal with your kid. Both are possible trades. One strengthens you inside, the other just passes the time. The art of refusal is just becoming a conscious trader. It's pausing before you agree and asking, what's the real exchange rate here? So here's a practical script from that Stoic clarity. If you need to say no to a social event to protect time for family or your own work, you might say, "Thank you for the invitation. It sounds wonderful. I have a prior commitment to family time that night, so I can't make it. I hope you have a great gathering. Look at the parts, gratitude." A clear, true reason based on your values, not an excuse, a warm closing. This isn't rejection. It's a statement of ownership. You're drawing the border of your time with respect for them and for you. Now look at your calendar for the next month. Look at the commitments, the meetings, the events, the obligations. Find just one thing that, if you're honest, feels more like a drain on your sovereignty than an investment. It might be a good thing, but not the right thing for you right now. Can you respectfully say no, or maybe change the terms, make it shorter, change how it happens? Just reviewing your calendar with this lens of ownership changes it. It stops being a list of demands and becomes a portfolio of choices. Each item is a question. Does this belong here? Does this trade honor the life I'm trying to build? Your power to say no is what makes your yes mean something. It's how you stop renting out your days and start living in them. Step outside, look at the stars or a tree or the sea. For Seneca, this wasn't a break from owning your time. It was a masterclass in it. He wrote for years his natural questions. He wasn't a scientist, not like we think of it. He was a philosopher looking for perspective. He studied comets, rivers, winds. He'd stare into the night sky. And he had a reason, a specific reason, to shrink the ego, to set a human life brief, frantic against cosmic time. When you feel you own so little, look at what owns everything. The patient turn of the seasons, the slow growth of a mountain, the cycles of birth and decay, indifferent, beautiful, running for billions of years. Your 70, 80 years, that's a single breath. In that story, this contemplation, it's not meant to make you feel small. It's meant to free you, your petty anxieties. Your social rivalries, that fear of missing out, they can't survive a real encounter with the scale of a redwood or the depth of a canyon. They get revealed for what they are, temporary noise. Against that backdrop, your ownership of time becomes clear. You don't own decades, you own moments, and the quality of those moments, that's everything. Marcus Aurelius practiced something. He called it the view from above. He'd mentally rise above the city, above the earth, and look down. He'd see the tiny houses, specks of people rushing. He wrote that from this height you see it, how small the arena of human striving really is, the ocean that washes away one century's footprints, the forest that grows over one empire's ruins. This exercise, it wasn't escapism, it was recalibration. It returned him to his daily duties with a quieter mind. Knowing his urgent problem was a speck on a speck that let him address it with focus but without the crushing weight, the weight of self-importance. He could own his hour of work without being owned by the outcome. This connects to the Stoic idea, the logos, the rational principle that orders the universe. To spend time in nature truly observing is to see logos in action, the seed that knows to sprout, the tide that knows to turn, the star that follows its path. There's a harmony there, a vast, patient intelligence operating on a schedule no human calendar can contain. Aligning your use of time with that harmony, it means moving with intention. Not with frenzy, It means using your sliver of existence not to fight the universe, but to play your part with grace. Your time is a note in a symphony that began long before you and will continue long after. Make it a clear note. So what does this look like now as a modern practice? It's simpler than you might think. It's a weekly commitment to sky gazing, just 10 minutes after the sun sets. Look up. Don't check an app to name the constellations. Just witness the expanse. Let the distance sink in. The sheer distance of the light hitting your eyes. That light traveled for years, for millennia, to reach you. In this instant, your entire life is a blink in its journey. Or take a walk in a park. Leave the headphones behind. Instead of a podcast, listen to the rustle of leaves. Watch a squirrel methodically gathering food. See the way moss grows on the north side of a tree. You're observing processes, cycles of life, utterly unconcerned with your to-do list. They have their own ancient rhythm. And for a few minutes, you can sync your heartbeat to it. Here's a prompt from this ancient exercise. Sometime in the next 7 days, give yourself 10 minutes. Uninterrupted, in a natural setting, your backyard at night, a local trail, a quiet corner of a garden. Afterward, take 2 minutes, journal, or just reflect on one question. How did that encounter with a larger scale of time affect my feeling about the urgency of my current worries, their importance? Did they feel larger or smaller? Did my own slice of time feel more precious or more peaceful? The answer isn't right or wrong. It's data. It shows you how a shift in perspective can redefine something. What it means to own the very next hour of your life. Seneca thought that through books you could take on the lifetimes of the greatest minds. It makes your own short life infinitely richer. He saw reading as a form of time compression, a way to absorb the wisdom of decades, even centuries, in a single afternoon. You sit with Marcus Aurelius, and in an hour you get the private meditations of a Roman emperor. Wrestling with power, with mortality, you read Epictetus, and you gain the lessons of a former slave who built a fortress of freedom in his own mind. This is active leisure. You're not just passing time, you're bringing the insights of history's finest thinkers into your own judgments, letting their experience pre-inform your decisions, making your future use of time wiser, more deliberate. In his letters, he kept urging his friend Lucilius toward this deep study. He didn't recommend skimming many books. He advocated for a few good ones. Read thoroughly, read repeatedly. He wrote that you must linger among a limited number of master thinkers, digest their works, so the ideas win a firm hold in your mind. The goal was assimilation, not collection, to let the ideas become part of you, shape your automatic responses. When you face a provocation, a line from Seneca on anger might come up. When you feel anxiety about the future, a reminder from Marcus Aurelius about the present moment might steady you. This study expands the quality of your own time because each hour in deep reading compounds. It makes every subsequent hour more intentional, less reactive. You walk through your days with an invisible counsel, wise advisors whose voices help you spend your attention more wisely. Now consider the common alternative. Binge watching a television series for 5 hours. It's immersive, often enjoyable, but when it ends, what remains? A vague memory of a plot, some fleeting emotions. Contrast that with spending one of those hours slowly reading a single chapter from Epictetus, then spending 20 minutes journaling about one sentence. How does this idea challenge a current worry? How could I apply this principle tomorrow? That hour and 20 minutes becomes an investment. It yields interest for years. The series entertains the time you have. The philosophy transforms how you will use all the time to come. So here's a practical invitation from this ancient practice. Select one Stoic text, Seneca's letters, Marcus Aurelius's meditations, a modern Epictetus. Commit to reading only a small portion each day, a single letter, one passage. But with a condition: after reading, pause, ask yourself one reflective question. How does this idea apply to a specific choice I will make with my time today? The answer need not be grand. It might be, this reminds me to listen fully in my next conversation instead of planning my reply. Or this tells me to refuse a trivial task masquerading as an emergency. This daily, brief engagement is how you begin to inherit those lifetimes, how you compress centuries of wisdom into the fabric of your own brief, beautiful span. Regret is a tax you pay twice, first for the mistake itself, then again for every moment you spend dwelling on it. It's a theft of your present ownership. You take the time you actually have this hour, right now, and you give it to a moment that's already gone, a territory you can't go back to. The Stoics draw a line here. The past is an external. It's a fact of fate, like yesterday's weather. To chain your attention to it is to hand over your sovereignty to a ghost. Seneca saw the absurdity. He asked, what's more foolish than being miserable now because you were miserable then? The error already cost you its own moment. To let it keep costing you new moments, that compounds the loss. It's being robbed twice. The only productive use for a past error is to mine it for a lesson, right now, and then to release the weight of the memory. The lesson belongs to you. The shame, the replay, the what if, those are anchors, dropped in waters you've already sailed past. They hold you stationary while your present time flows around you. Unused, think of two paths after a career misstep. One person spends years replaying the interview, the fumble, the missed chance. They weave it into their identity. A story of failure that colors every new opportunity with hesitation. They're paying the tax daily, in mental energy, in lost confidence. Their own time is spent in a museum. A museum for a single regret. The other person feels the sting. They sit with it. They ask, what did this reveal? Maybe a need for better preparation. Or a misalignment between that role and their real strengths. They extract that single, clear lesson. They write it down, and then, with intent, they close that chapter. They use the insight to prepare differently next time, or to pivot toward work that fits them better. The past error becomes fertilizer, not a tombstone. It informs the present without imprisoning it. That's the active work of ownership. It means auditing your mental time like you'd audit your calendar. How many of your present thoughts are leased out to past events, events you can't change? That mental real estate is your most valuable property. To let regret live there permanently is to surrender your agency. So a practical exercise: take a piece of paper, write down one past regret, be specific but brief. Then, on the next line, complete this sentence. The lesson this taught me that I can use today is stated plainly. Then fold the paper. You can tear it, burn it safely, drop it in a bin. The physical act is a symbol. It declares to your mind that the lesson is integrated. The weight of the regret is now an external you choose to discard. You're evicting a tenant that's been living rent-free in your present moment. You're reclaiming that space for the life you're actually living now, the only time you truly own. Every unnecessary word is a withdrawal. You're both spending from the same finite pool of time. The moment you start speaking, you're spending your listeners' irreplaceable attention and your own. Speech is a profound economic act. For the Stoics, this was temperance. Temperance in speech isn't just avoiding excess, it's about precision, making sure the time cost of your words is justified by truth, by kindness, by necessary action. Gossip, chronic complaining, long explanations that never land. These are expenditures. They consume minutes and mental energy. They yield little in return. No wisdom, no stronger bond, no clearer path. There are leaks in the vessel for both people. The ancient teachers knew this. Zeno said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Epictetus drilled it in. He warned the tongue is a powerful beast, hard to tame. he advised being mostly silent or saying only what's necessary and in few words. He saw careless speech as a loss of self-possession. When you speak without purpose, you're not in command of your own mind. You're led by impulse, by the desire to fill silence, or by anxiety over how you're seen. In that moment, you're not the owner of your time, you're its spendthrift. Think of a modern meeting. One version drones for an hour. It drifts into anecdotes, hypotheticals, debates over minor points. People leave feeling drained, their time palpably diminished. Nothing concrete was decided. Now contrast that with a meeting governed by Stoic temperance. It starts with a clear purpose. Contributions are concise, directed toward that purpose. When the purpose is achieved, it ends. Everyone leaves with their time respected. Their attention honored. The same human hour was spent. In the first case, it was consumed. In the second, it was invested. This economy extends to private thoughts. The internal monologue of worry, replaying arguments, crafting clever replies you'll never use. That's a silent expenditure. You're paying your present attention to a conversation that isn't happening. You're depleting your own account with a fictional debtor. So here's a day-long audit, a practical application. For one full day, become an observer of your own speech. In conversations, in meetings, even in your thoughts, carry a mental notepad. Don't judge, just note. Note how often you speak out of habit to fill an awkward silence, to signal your intelligence or your belonging. How often you complain about a minor inconvenience, giving it more of your life than it deserves. And in contrast, note the moments your words felt necessary, where they conveyed a truth, offered comfort, solved a problem. The ratio you observe will be telling. It'll show you where your verbal economy is running a deficit, and where you might start building a reserve of meaningful silence. Because in that reserve, you reclaim not just your own time, you become a steward of the most precious resource belonging to everyone you meet. Your attention steers your time. Seneca's philosophy is a training manual for keeping it from being hijacked. We talk about owning time, but time is just the container. It's your attention that fills it. Without command of your focus, you're like a ship drifting in your own hours. You can schedule the block, but if your mind is scattered across worries and distractions, you don't really own that moment. The Stoics had a precise term for this command center, Prohairesis. It's your faculty of choice, your capacity for judgment and assent, the inner citadel where you direct your attention, your desires, your intentions. Everything else, the buzzing phone, the demanding boss, the unexpected hardship, is external. An impression knocking at the gate. Ownership isn't about controlling those events. It's about maintaining command of the gatekeeper, your Prohairesis. Epictetus built his entire teaching on this. He said what upsets people isn't things themselves, but their judgments about things. Your power lies in your choice of where to place your attention and your desire. If you desire something outside your control, you hand over the steering wheel. You become a passenger jerked around by every bump in the road. Consider a modern scene. You've allocated an hour to read. The time is yours. You sit down with the book. Then your phone buzzes. Your attention shifts involuntarily. You glance. It's a trivial update. You return to the page, but a thread of your mind is now tied to that device, wondering if another notification will come. The time container is still being filled, but the quality has changed. Your attention, the true currency, is fractured. You are no longer the sole owner of that hour. You've ceded partial command to a piece of technology. Ownership of time is measured in moments of undivided attention. That's why Stoic practices like the morning meditation or the nightly review are so vital. They are drills for the Prohairesis. They strengthen your ability to place your focus where you choose and to keep it there, to notice when it has been captured and to gently guide it back. So here's a small exercise, an attention anchor. For just 5 minutes today, sit quietly. Focus your attention solely on the sensation of your breath, the cool air entering your nostrils, the rise of your chest, the gentle fall. your mind will wander. It will pull toward a memory, a plan, a sound. This isn't failure, this is the practice. Each time you notice it has wandered without judgment, simply return your attention to the breath. That act of noticing and returning is the exercise of your sovereignty. It's you reclaiming the steering wheel. For those 5 minutes, you aren't just spending time. You're mastering the currency that makes time your own. Seneca wasn't as concerned with a statue, with being remembered that way. He cared more about the ethical imprint. The imprint of a last conversation, that's the Stoic view of legacy. It's not some grand edifice you leave. It's the invisible wake, the wake of your character rippling through time. Through the lives you've touched, a statue can be toppled, a name can be forgotten, but a moment of patience, genuine patience with a frustrated child. Or a single act of quiet integrity when no one was watching, a word of honest encouragement to someone on the edge of giving up. These are the true monuments. They're not built from stone, they're built from own time, from moments where you chose to spend your attention, where you chose virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He reminded himself, the remembrance of the dead is brief, it vanishes soon, so why exhaust your present hours? Why exhaust them building a monument to your own memory? Instead, he said, do the work of a human being. Now, the work isn't about future fame, it's about the quality of your action in this very interaction. Your legacy, then, is just the sum of that work, the total of how you spent your most precious resource on others and on your own growth. Look at the common drive. The drive for a prestigious job title, that's a kind of monument. It's carved on a business card, on a LinkedIn profile. It can feel solid, impressive. But it's external, it can be taken away. Contrast that with the daily practice, the practice of mentoring a colleague, spending 30 minutes of your focused time to help someone see a solution. That's a moment, that investment of your attention leaves an imprint on their confidence, on their skill, on their day. Long after you've both forgotten the specific advice, the feeling might remain. The feeling of being supported, that feeling can shape their next decision, their next act of kindness toward someone else. Your legacy becomes a chain. A chain of positive moments, not a plaque on a wall. This reframes every ordinary day. The legacy of your life isn't being written in the future by some distant biographer. It's being authored now by you in real time, with each choice to listen deeply instead of pretending, to speak truth with kindness instead of winning an argument, to meet hardship with resilience instead of complaint. These are the sentences in your story, the story that actually lives on through the subtle alterations you make in the people and situations around you. So here's a reflective prompt to bring this from philosophy into the fabric of your yesterday. Describe the legacy of your yesterday. Not based on tasks completed, not on goals advanced. Base it solely on the quality of your interactions, your personal conduct. Did you leave a conversation with someone feeling slightly lighter or slightly heavier? Did you face an irritation with a measure of patience, a patience you didn't have last month? Did you honor a commitment to yourself? Like that morning reflection, strengthening your inner citadel, that is your true ledger. That is the legacy you are building, one owned moment at a time. What did yesterday's moments build? You don't own time by trying to harvest in winter. That's what Seneca was getting at. Ownership is really about adapting wisely. It's not rigid control, it's a kind of flowing sovereignty. You recognize the natural arc of a human life. You spend your attention in ways that fit the phase you're actually in. To fight your current season is to waste it. If you wish you were in summer during spring, you'll miss the planting. The Stoic goal is to follow nature, not conquer it. And nature designed life with distinct chapters. Each one has its own resources, its own calls to virtue. Seneca wrote about this, especially on old age. He said every season of life has its own valuable pleasures. its own appropriate duties. Youth gets vibrant energy, bold action, rapid learning. Midlife brings depth of responsibility. The ability to build, to guide. Old age offers reflection, distilled wisdom, a certain freedom from earlier frantic pursuits. Resenting old age, he said, is as foolish as a sailor being angry he's reached the harbor. The harbor is the point. Each phase is a different landscape on the same map. Ownership means traveling fully through the one you're in. Think about a young person early in their career. One version spends those years in constant frustration, believing real life begins with a title or a salary. They see their time as a waiting room, wishing for autumn during spring. The Stoic alternative is to own that springtime fully, to invest those hours in foundational learning, in building discipline, exploring paths without the heavier burdens that come later. The virtue here might be courage to try, to fail, to ask. That time isn't a prelude to ownership. It's the raw material of ownership itself. Now picture someone later in life, looking back with regret. Lamenting lost youth, missed chances, fading energy. They're trying to harvest in winter. They spend their present moments, which hold the unique quiet and perspective of age, in mourning for a season that's gone. Stoic ownership of this season is different. It's using this time for reflection, not regret, to share hard-won wisdom, offer counsel, enjoy the deep pleasures of observation and gratitude. The virtue here is wisdom, seeing the whole arc, finding meaning in its completion. So here's a reflective prompt. Identify your current life season, not just by age but by its dominant themes. Is it a season of building, learning, consolidating, letting go? Make a simple list. What are the unique gifts of this season? What freedoms does it offer that others may not? And crucially, what are the most fitting Stoic virtues to practice here? Is it the courage to start something new, the justice of providing for others, the temperance to slow down, the wisdom to accept change? By naming these, you stop fighting the weather of your life. You learn to work with it. You begin to own your time, not by defying the seasons, but by understanding them, tending your inner garden accordingly. Every desire you don't examine is like a subscription. It takes minutes from your life for the chase and the upkeep. You don't see a bill, but you pay it with your attention. The Stoics saw this. They aimed for apatheia, which gets misunderstood. It's not about being emotionless. It's about freedom from the passions that wreck you, the ones that take over your reason and split your focus. A desire for something outside your control, that's a passion. It makes a rival out of a future you don't own against the present you do have. Your mind gets pulled into that imagined future, into the planning, the scheming, the worrying. The time between now and getting that thing becomes a kind of limbo, a stretch you don't fully live in because mentally you're already somewhere else. That's how desire fragments ownership. It splits your consciousness between a real now and a phantom later. Epictetus gave the basic tool for this. In his manual, he says to start by telling every impression, you are just an impression. You are not necessarily the thing you claim to be. So when the impression of a shiny new car shows up with all its status and pleasure, you pause. You tell that impression, you are just an impression. You are not the car itself. You are not a guarantee of happiness. You are a thought, a feeling, and I can examine you. I can ask, is this desire for something within my control? For the car, the answer is almost entirely no. You can't control the market, the loan approval, the envy of neighbors, or even the reliability of the machine once you have it. What you can control is your judgment of it, your decision to chase it or not, your use of the car you already own. Follow that desire through a typical life. The itch for a newer model starts. You research online, that's an hour. You visit dealerships on weekends, that's 3 more. You run numbers, stress over loans, compare trims and colors. That's mental energy spread across days. You finally get the car. Now you worry about dings in the parking lot. You feel a pang when a newer model drives by. You spend time washing it, protecting it, paying for it. Now contrast that with a functional car you already own. You get in, you drive. Your mind is free to think about the conversation you're heading to, or the podcast, or just the road. The car is a tool, not a project. The time on maintenance is minimal, purposeful. The difference in own time is huge. One path turns your vehicle into a part-time job that eats your attention. The other leaves your attention where it belongs on your life, as you live it. This applies to so many quiet cravings, the desire for a different body, which pulls you into cycles of comparison and regimens you resent. The desire for a specific romantic outcome, which makes you analyze every text, replay every conversation. The desire for recognition at work, which has you performing for an audience in your mind instead of focusing on the work itself. Each one is a subscription. Each has a monthly fee of mental real estate. So here's a practical audit, a way to cancel a few of those silent subscriptions. Take a moment, list 5 current desires. They can be big or small: a promotion, a vacation home, a slimmer physique, a reconciled relationship, a newer phone. Write them down. Next to each one, categorize it honestly. Is the fulfillment of this desire primarily within my control or outside it? Be rigorous. For the promotion, your effort is within your control. The final decision is not. For the slimmer physique, your actions around diet and exercise are within your control. Your exact metabolism or how others see you is not. For the reconciled relationship, your willingness to reach out is within your control. The other person's response is not. Now, for every desire you marked as outside your control, do a simple mental release. Acknowledge it. Say, I desire this, but its attainment is not mine to command. So I release my attachment to the outcome. I will focus my time and attention only on the part that is up to me, my own actions, my own character. This isn't giving up. It's a strategic consolidation. You're withdrawing your psychic investment from a volatile external market and depositing it back into the guaranteed account of your present moment. You stop paying the subscription fee, and suddenly you find you have more time, more clear, undivided time than you knew was possible. Pause, feel your breath. This is your estate right now. Seneca would thank fortune for the present, even when it was modest. He didn't wait for something better. He gave thanks for consciousness itself. For being able to think, to perceive, that daily acknowledgement was strategic. It reinforced ownership. When you're genuinely grateful for the moment you're in, you can't resent it. You can't wish to be somewhere else. You claim it, you inhabit it. Gratitude makes owning your time tangible. It's the direct antidote to postponement. To complaint, Marcus Aurelius began his days with this. His writings show a detailed list. Upon waking, he'd remind himself to be grateful, not vaguely. With specificity, he gave thanks for the nature of the universe, even when it was difficult. He gave thanks for the people in his life, even the challenging ones, because they were a chance to practice patience. He gave thanks for his own faculties, his reason, his senses, his ability to get out of bed. This ritual was about grounding his sovereignty at dawn. By cataloging his assets, the assets of attention, of life itself, he fortified his mind against the day's inevitable pull toward dissatisfaction. He started as the owner, not the beggar. You can bring this into your own nights. A simple practice: keep a journal by your bed. Each night, write one entry of gratitude, but shift the focus. Away from objects or general blessings, focus it on time, on moments of time well used. Write one sentence thanking yourself for a specific moment where you felt present. Maybe you listened fully to a friend's story today. Thank that moment for the connection. Maybe you handled a minor frustration with patience. Thank that sliver of time for the strength it revealed. Maybe you learned a small lesson from a mistake. Thank that experience for the wisdom it offered. This practice does two things. It ends your day by auditing your ownership in a positive light. And it programs your mind to seek out such moments tomorrow. It turns the daily review from a correction into a celebration of agency. So tonight, before sleep closes the ledger on this day, offer that quiet reflection. State just to yourself 3 things you are grateful for about this specific day, not about your life in general, about today. Let them be small: the warmth of sunlight through a window, the taste of a meal, a moment of unexpected quiet, the completion of a single, focused task. In naming them, you perform the ultimate act of ownership. You declare that this day, with all its imperfections, contained gifts, and in seeing those gifts, you reclaim every second that held them. You close the book not on a series of hours that happened to you, but on a collection of moments you actively received. Picture your final self, looking back over the ledger of your life. The only column that matters is called time owned and well spent. That's Memento Mori, stripped of sentiment. It's not morbid, it's clarifying. From that distant point, the fog of daily urgency burns away. What's left is a stark landscape. You see the hours you invested in building character. And you see the hours you gave away to worry, to posturing, to the hollow noise of the world. That final accounting asks one question, with no room for excuses. Did I live as the owner of my days, or was I merely their tenant? Seneca returns to this in his essay on the shortness of life. He tells his reader to live each day as if giving an account to a stern judge. Imagine that judge is your own future self. From that final vantage point, that self isn't interested in your busyness, isn't impressed by your comforts or your social standing. That final self measures in a different currency. It asks how much of your attention was truly yours, how much of your life was spent awake, present, aligned with what you knew to be good. The verdict isn't about success in the world's eyes, it's about sovereignty. Did you govern your inner citadel? Or did you let it be sacked by every passing demand? You can see the difference in the stories we tell. One eulogy lists a resume, the promotions, the properties, the accolades. It speaks of a person who was perpetually occupied. Another kind of remembrance describes something else. It speaks of a person who listened so deeply you felt heard, who met hardship with a quiet steadiness, who chose commitments with care and showed up with their whole self. This second portrait isn't about what someone did with their time. It's about how they were within their time, a life that was owned from the inside out. So bring this final accounting into today, not as a weight but as a lens. A tool for clarity. Here's a brief exercise, a way to write a single line in that future ledger. Pause, project your mind forward to the very end. Now look back on this current day, the one you're living right now. From that vast, peaceful distance, what would you wish to see written for this 24 hours? Not a list of tasks, a simple statement of quality. Maybe it reads, today I spent an hour in deep conversation with my child, fully present. Or today I handled a frustrating delay with patience. Or today I dedicated 30 minutes to learning something that expanded my understanding. Or even today I recognized a moment of anxiety and chose not to feed it. Write that one-line entry for today as you would wish it to be. Keep it private, keep it real. This isn't about a perfect day. It's about identifying the single thread of ownership you most want to weave into this one. That line becomes your compass for the hours that remain. It turns the distant final question into a gentle whisper for your next choice. The journey is complete. From that initial poverty of feeling to a radical truth, you don't own anything external, not really, but you do own your time, your attention moving through it. That's Seneca's gift, a redefinition of wealth, a kind no fortune can give and no misfortune can take away. We saw the illusions, the belief that property or status is ownership. We identified the thieves, the respectable busyness, the digital circus, the endless deferral to a future that isn't promised, and we walked through the practices. The morning meditation to claim your mind, the nightly review to audit your day, true leisure, the courageous no that protects your hours, deep reading to inherit lifetimes. Gratitude to inhabit the present, each one is a tool for a single task, to become the sovereign of your own experience, to stop renting out your days and start living inside them. So the opening quote lands now. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. The waste isn't in leisure, it isn't in rest. It's in the unconscious expenditure, the hours given to what we don't value, in service to opinions we don't share, for a future we don't control. To own your time is to end that waste. To spend your life instead of just spending it. Marcus Aurelius offered a final measure. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." That's the ultimate clarity. If this moment were your last note in the symphony, would it be clear? Would it be yours? The dignity of a life is in that quality of choice. Using our brief, beautiful span not as a reaction to the world, but as a conscious contribution to it. So here is the invitation, the step from insight into your lived hours. Look back over the principles. Let one call to you, just one. Maybe it's the nightly review to close your ledger with understanding. Maybe it's a weekly digital fast to reclaim your attention from the arena. Maybe it's saying no to one thing tomorrow, to create space for what matters. Choose one, commit to it for 7 days. This is how philosophy stops being a theory and becomes your life. How you move from knowing you own your time to feeling it in your bones. Thank you. Thank you for investing this slice of your life here. This time is yours, and you chose to spend some of it on these ideas. That is an act of ownership in itself. If a principle resonated the view from above, the economy of speech, voluntary hardship, share it below. Let's continue the conversation. Tell us which Stoic tool you'll take into your week. And if you'd like to join more journeys into practical wisdom, consider subscribing. There are always new landscapes, new ways to live with clarity, courage, and peace. Until then, remember, the vessel is leaking, but what you pour into it while you hold it is entirely up to you.